Well, the thing is, like, the parachute, for example, coupon code on Google Express, I guarantee that works. I think for a lot of Google services, April Fool's is actually a way for them to make you aware. You might not have
it's a
even known
marketing
Google Express was
opportunity.
a thing.
Right. And for Yahoo, it's a chance to violate SEC rules.
I didn't see that one.
Well, they put a story out that Trader Joe's was going to close all its stores.
Oh.
And it's like, well, that's great.
Yeah.
A respected news organization just puts out a lie is not April Fool's.
Well, at least they didn't drop mics on your Gmail.
Mine was still working this morning because I hadn't closed the tab, and it must have gotten the code somehow, and so I was still able to do it even after Google pulled it and apologized.
I like the tweet. Oh, I don't know if it was on the article that you linked or something you sent, but it was like, well, how could this possibly go wrong? And it was like someone giving information about a funeral, and we're sorry for your loss, and then there's the mic drop thing on top.
That was a mock-up.
Right.
But it could happen.
I know.
You know what? What's the difference between a mock-up and reality in this day and age, right? I mean, if journalism is embedding a tweet you saw and commenting on it, it might as well have happened. Let's just pretend it did.
Nothing is true. Everything is permissible. We're all the Hasisim now.
Oh, man. I can't wait to see Len's Canary. That's not even a euphemism.
Oh, well.
Whoa, mister.
Yeah, this is a pretty
not that kind of show.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, this is, I don't know, this is an interesting little drawing. It took me a while to wrap my head around. Well, how do I want to approach this?
Well, when Tom mentioned, we can do that, or we can talk Tesla, my first thought was like, I think Len might have an easier time if we just talk Tesla.
Yeah, this is this was an interesting drawing. We'll see how it goes. I don't know.
All right, we will see how it goes in just about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Right. Sure. How about you win, I'll lose, and Len will draw.
Done.
I can be Bert Convy.
My fellow citizens of the internet, there is nothing to fear but fear itself. So go show fear you mean business. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and show them you're not interested in fear. You're interested in the future.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, April 1st, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt, and I promise everything I say is going to be true to the best of my knowledge for this entire show. It's an April Fool's free zone. Darren Kitchen from hack5.org is really here. That's really him.
No joke. I'm here, Tom.
Yes, you are here. We are going to talk about canaries. Not a joke. We're talking about warrant canaries and Reddit and the Transparency Report. Len Peralta is here. How you doing, Len?
Good. You can actually put a little moniker in front of my name. Best-selling comic book artist, Len Peralta.
Oh, congratulations. So yes. The Munchkin selling well, I hear.
Well, it's sold out of my local place,
That's
which
great.
is great. And because I bought the last 2 issues, but they're ordering more. And very well reviewed. I won't go on for too long, but I guess I should have known that there would be people reviewing my issue, and got a 9 out of 10. It is a must-read of this week. So
fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we are honored to have best-selling comic artist Len Peralta.
Thank you very much.
Today. Let's get into the headlines. Tesla unveiled the Model 3 electric car last night. The $35,000 car can go 215 miles on a charge, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Use Tesla's autopilot feature. Has a 15-inch, not a 17-inch touchscreen, and it's landscape, not portrait, so different than previous Teslas. Supports Tesla's supercharging network, and they announced that they hope to double that by the end of 2017. Seats 5 adults, they say comfortably. We haven't tried it. With storage in both the front and the back. Deliveries are expected to begin by the end of 2017. Musk tweeted Friday that more than 180,000 people had put a $1,000 deposit down to pre-order the car. Were you one of them, Darren?
I was not. And I would say, though, however, I will give the caveat that, $35K for a new car, and it's electric, and it is sexy. The
$35,000 is a lot of money for a new car.
For a new car, it's not terrible.
I mean, it's not. It's
not
apparently
obscene.
near the median.
It's not what I would expect for a Tesla that's looking like the love child of a Prius
Look,
and an Aston Martin.
You're talking to a guy whose only new car purchase. I've only ever bought used cars. The only time I bought a new car, it was a Saturn. So yeah, probably
Okay.
the wrong audience.
Well, anyway, I'm the wrong audience too because I don't have a commute, so I have absolutely no use for a electric car, sadly. Because when I do drive, I drive like from here to Albuquerque. So, but anyway, I just have to say that this thing is just gorgeous. The windshield that goes from front to back, the weird, like I thought that a car without a grill would be like awkward, but it's not. It's totally working for me, and those interior lines. Anyway, I'm gushing about the just the sexiness of this all throughout.
You're not alone. A lot of people are gushing about this, and it is somewhat telling. And I'm not sure what it tells, but it is somewhat telling that we lined up for a $35,000 car that many people were pre-ordering before they had even seen it. We didn't line up for a new phone from Apple as a country.
But then again, Apple also sells a lot more phones. So when you think about it, right, they're talking about the new Model 3 being available 2017.
Yeah.
180,000 units, and I mean the iPhone is so many more units. I don't know
SE, more units, cheaper, smaller. I'm just saying.
Well,
next Apple iPhone should be $35,000 and not ship for 2 years.
No. I think there's a way to actually really sum this up, and you have to figure that with Tesla's new plant in Nevada, where they're making all those batteries, they're going to hopefully be able to, churn out 500,000 of those a year.
Yep.
So once they ramp up their battery production, then Apple might have not a chance of catching up in terms of sales per lithium equivalent.
That's
sales
per milliamp hour.
Per milliamp hour, I think that Apple is still winning. But if they can do 180,000 of these Teslas in a year, I mean, they got a lot of batteries in those things. Then they might be winning on that front at least.
As an April Fool's joke, Google added an orange button that read "Send with" and an icon representing a mic drop to Gmail. This button was placed right next to the normal send button and replaced the send plus archive button. Probably not a good idea. The orange button sent the message but added a GIF of a minion dropping a mic. After several people complained, Google removed the feature, apologizing and writing in a blog post, "It looks like we pranked ourselves this year." One person claims to have lost their job because of an email they sent and accidentally included the GIF.
I'm not sure how I feel about this just because of the whole minion thing. Like, I get if, you're going to do the Snoop Dogg vision on YouTube, or you're going to have that actor from Silicon Valley on the Google X thing. Like, it's one thing to bring in celebrities, but when you start just using, like, a GIF of, maybe I'm just, like, a stickler for trademarks, but, like, I feel like what? Is there some deal there with Paramount? Is it Paramount? I don't even know the studio that makes the Minions.
Deal with a movie studio? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Hard to say. Maybe it was. Maybe it was a marketing deal. I don't know. Bad UI placement to replace a functional button, first of all, but also to put this right next to the actual send button. A lot of people use send plus archive on an ongoing basis, and so when muscle memory takes over, they probably are just going to hit that.
This is actually when I draft new emails. The very last thing that I do is I put in the recipient in the to field, because all it takes is Control-Enter or Tab-Enter to ruin the day.
Well, that's good practice. Reddit issued its latest transparency report, and this year's report does not say that it has never received a national security letter or any other classified request for user information. That passage in last year's report is something known as a warrant canary, meaning like a canary in a coal mine. If it disappears, the implication is that magic has happened. Wait a minute, no. That if it disappears, the implication is that a request has been received. Canaries don't usually disappear in coal mines, though. They just plop over dead. It is illegal to disclose the specific receipt of such requests if they're accompanied by a non-disclosure order. Regarding the report, Reddit founder Steve Huffman wrote, "I've been advised not to say anything one way or the other," although he did say a few other things.
Great. So the 35th most visited website in the world has now finally, inevitably, received its NSL, or at least that is the confirmation that we can take from this. Unless, of course, it's just an April Fool's joke, in which case, terrible joke.
No, they released it yesterday. I guess people are starting to release their April Fool's jokes early, but
yeah,
yeah.
Still, it was April Fool's. It was April 1st.
April Fool's in
somewhere.
Australia yesterday.
There you go. You know.
Good point.
So the way that I look at this is like, well, great. Now that's done. What about next year? What about the year after? The whole thing about a canary is it's a one-shot kill, and then once it's done,
once the canary's
what
dead,
are you really saying? Are you saying your users no longer trust us as a platform? What's my takeaway as a user from this?
Yeah, we'll talk about this in the discussion, because the other possibility here is that Reddit's lawyers said, you know, we could get in trouble for saying we have not received something. And we'll talk about the reasons why that might be true as well, which Hoffman could be trying to say like, no, we just had to take it out, but I also can't tell you that we just had to take it out. It's really not a very good situation.
Mm-hmm.
Wired reports that since 2014, artists Trevor Paglen and Jacob Applebaum have exhibited a sculpture in museums called the Autonomy Cube. The 38-centimeter cube houses a Wi-Fi router with Bunny Huang's redundant Novena motherboards inside that serve as a relay. 4 of the devices are currently touring museums, and 3 more are scheduled to begin in May. Paglen hopes to get some museums to make the installations permanent. In fact, a public gallery in Oldenburg, Germany, even served as an exit node for Tor, supplying a speed of 100 megabits per second, which is pretty fast for an exit node.
Yeah, no, this is really good stuff. Part of me is just like, wait a second, we've been around this before and got conflicting information from the Tor project. Then again, if this is to raise awareness, then that is fantastic. It is beautiful as a museum piece. I'm the first person to say motherboards belong in shadow boxes on the walls. So it's a really cool idea, but it just reminds me of the Pi. I forget. I think it was called Onion Pi. There was a distribution that you put on a Raspberry Pi that would allow you to turn one into a Tor node Wi-Fi access point. So that the concept was that you would just connect your device to that Wi-Fi access point and assume that everything would then go through Tor. And it got a lot of backlash from the Tor community saying, actually, we don't support such a concept because it's poor network security. Wi-Fi is inherently insecure, and all of those things. And then to see this, so I get that on the one hand you're trying to make a statement with this and you want to make it as accessible as possible, and somebody walking by in a museum can easily pull their phone out and connect to it and say like, oh cool, now I'm using Tor. I've never done that before, never knew what that was before. But on the other hand, I love the implementation of this, where it's basically 2 routers, one to reboot the other in case the other fails, and just the concept that you could just drop it, and as like a reverse gateway, it becomes a node for the Tor network, which begs the question, well, if it's that simple, then why isn't the Tor project shipping these all over the place saying, hey, just plug these in?
Yeah, maybe they just haven't put the budget together for that. I don't know. That's a great question, because what Paglen's wanting to do, I think, is laudable, which is, man, if I can get museums everywhere to host these, we would have a more robust Tor network.
Mm-hmm. Public libraries, get them everywhere.
Yeah. 2 sources tell Reuters that Egypt blocked Facebook Free Basics internet service on December 30th after Facebook declined to let the Egyptian government surveil users on the service. There's no controversy that it was shut down. At the time, though, the Egyptian government claimed that mobile carrier Etisalat had only been granted a 2-month permit to offer the service, and that other carriers thought that the service was unfair. They pointed to India, saying, look, there's the net neutrality considerations. We're just not going to do this Free Basics in Egypt. But now sources telling Reuters that the real reason was that Egypt went to Facebook and said, great, plug us in. We want to spy on people on Free Basics. And Facebook said no.
It's probably idealistic and wishful thinking of me to feel this way, but I would really, really love to see in our lifetime or in the next internet generation a service as large as someone like Facebook to actually respond to this sort of thing by actually blocking that nation that says, oh, no, we want to be able to conduct surveillance on our citizens that use your platform. I would like to see, as we go into, as this balance of power continues between the concept of nation states with citizens versus internet services with users, I would like to see the boycott of a nation from a service that says, kind of like Google getting out of China or something. Well, you know
I guess
how
we've
that went.
seen that with Google, actually, although they're now moving back in.
Right. So anyway, I would just love to see like, oh, you want to use our service to spy on your citizens? You know what? While it would be great to connect the entire world and have every user on your service, maybe it's just a better thing to say, we're going to take our service elsewhere, and you guys can roll your own. I don't know.
Although when you block, I mean, I know that you're talking about, well, Facebook could say, well, Facebook is now not available in Egypt until you let free basics. Usually the case is like you're blocked, and it's like, well, I don't have any more leverage because you blocked my service.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is if it's the country is like, so it's nations like Syria and Egypt that have during times of political pressure, during times of elections, gone as far as to like block social media like Facebook to prevent citizens from organizing protests or other such events, or even just disseminating valuable knowledge.
No, I get it, but like if the country's blocking you, what do you block back?
Them. You say, okay, you know what?
They're already not allowing their citizens to use your service. So
it's okay. It's okay because their citizens had a moment to get in on the Facebook and see all the baby photos and drink the Kool-Aid, and then you just pull that plug and say you replace it with a page that says,
I think the government would be like, great, thank you. That's a lot easier for us now.
Well, I would just like to see a service like that say, we no longer support a nation that is going to
but then you're punishing the people who live there for the actions of the government.
Say again?
You're punishing the people who live in the country for the actions of its government.
You are, and you're replacing it with the page that says, sorry, you can't,
I'm not okay with
play
that
here because your government is bad. Come back when you've got that sorted.
40 years ago today in 1976, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne decided to change their garage project into a partnership. And today, Ron Wayne typed up the papers, but he would leave the partnership after 11 days, and Apple Computer would be incorporated the following January. And of course, sadly, Steve Jobs passed away several years back. So really, Steve Wozniak is the only co-founder that stayed involved and is still alive. But hey, 40 years ago today, incorporation? I think I ruined that story. In a 3-2 vote, the FCC passed a measure to allow low-income Americans to apply the $9.25 a month lifeline subsidy to broadband or bundled voice and data mobile internet service. According to the Washington Post, the plan requires ISPs to offer download speeds of at least 10 megabits per second. The FCC anticipates the new option will be available December 1st.
This is good stuff. I feel like this is a move in the right direction, and at the same time, I feel like this is also a technology problem or a problem that can be solved with technology, and the FCC knows this and is at the forefront of this and has been doing more and more, and I would like to see them continue to open up spectrum for, say, community-based networks with the goal of eventually providing free and universal access to everyone. I know that they recently did so, I believe it was with 3 gigahertz in trials right now, and so, this is good. It's one step, but let's solve this with technology too.
Yeah, too. I agree with you 100% there, which is there is a subsidy available for telephone service, and today telephone service is much less valuable than it used to be, but internet service is way more valuable. So let that subsidy apply to the internet as well. What is interesting is that the Republicans and Democrats on the commission here were in agreement about the principle of that. They were in disagreement about how it should be implemented. The Republicans wanted it to be a much faster broadband, but with a different arrangement for providing it. And Minion Clyburn almost swung over to their side, and then at the last minute, Tom Wheeler pressured her into voting with him. So we get the 10 megabits per second instead of the 25. And there would have been higher costs for ISPs under the other plan that didn't get approved. But I think everybody was in agreement, like, yeah, no, this is the modern age. If we're going to have a subsidy at all, it should apply to the internet. Right,
and bits are better than no bits, and I totally feel you on the, you have to at least, like, claiming plain old telephone system is a means of adequate communication anymore. It's just totally bizarre. I made a phone call the other day, and the person on the other end was very confused, and I had to explain, like, oh no one died, everything's cool, I'm just
why are you calling
making a phone call instead of texting. And they were
it
like,
is weird how that's changed. Now, granted, there are situations where plain old telephone system is definitely still the top option because it has its own powered system and all that. I get that. Like, it's not entirely dead, but you have to admit that its day is fading. while the internet's day is rising. I don't think that's controversial.
You're right.
We'll find
When
out.
Egypt shuts down the internet, you can still use the phone system to dial up an ISP in the Netherlands.
Researchers at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, led by Professor Dina Katabi, published a paper on a system called Chronos that could locate devices from a single Wi-Fi access point. So in other words, tell where you are, because presumably you're holding the device, within a decimeter. It calculates the time data takes to travel from a user to the access point with an average error of 0.47 nanoseconds, so less than a second error. Chronos channel hops to make, Chronos channel hops to make several measurements and then stitch them together. An algorithm eliminates delays created by walls and furniture, which is why they're able to do it without having to do triangulation. They can still tell the angle by using those different channels, but they also have a way to really error correct for distance, and then they can almost pin you down. They did some tests on this. They were able to keep a drone from flying too close to a person who was operating it. They were able to tell whether a user was outside of a cafe or inside of a cafe. They were able to predict that with 97% accuracy. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's the really exciting stuff for security concerns, is that Wi-Fi is so it's so ubiquitous, it's so convenient, people expect it, corporations deploy it, but it leaks through walls, and then inadvertently, people in the parking lot that may have nothing to do with the corporation can deploy attacks and get on the network using just the fact that radio goes through walls. If you are then able to also say, oh, well, based on the delay, this guy's in a shady van in the parking lot, drop his connection, then that's a good thing. The article was saying that they had a 97% success rate of distinguishing whether or not the customer was in the cafe or outside, which can be really useful. And it's just really interesting to see this kind of stuff being used. I've played with it in the past in that when you do very long-distance Wi-Fi links, you actually have to tweak the timeouts, because if it doesn't show up in a very precise window, it expects that the packet's gone. But if you're going further distance, just because the speed of light seems to still be a thing, then it will take longer. So we either do this or we solve the speed of light problem. Either way. Either one.
We do. I think Congress should look into changing that law too, the law of the speed of light. One of the fastest growing startups in the world is Garena. This is just interesting. They've made a lot of noise this week because they got funding. Its latest round of funding makes it the most valuable startup in Southeast Asia at $3.75 billion US in valuation. Its fastest growing products are Shopee, a mobile marketplace, and AirPay, an e-payment service. But it makes its profits still mostly on a digital content business led by Garena Plus, which is an online game and social media platform, highly profitable according to Tech in Asia, because it publishes top games in Southeast Asia. For instance, League of Legends is published by Garena in Southeast Asia, which is incredibly lucrative. They're also big into esports. This is just one of those, like, you probably haven't heard of this company, but now you have, because I think you might be hearing more about them in the future. Hey, thanks to Alan Char, Hylar92, TG Stellar, and Abatuela Condolce, who submitted things that we used from our subreddit. Keep them coming. Even if we don't use them, we benefit from seeing them in there, and we definitely benefit from your votes. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That's a look at the headlines. So yeah, let's go back to that Reddit story. This year's request has no national security request section at all. Last year, under that section, it said that as of January 29th, 2015, Reddit has never received a national security letter, an order under the Foreign Intelligence Survey Act, or any other classified request for user information. If we ever received such a request, we would seek to let the public know it existed. Now, they have joined a lawsuit that Twitter filed a while back to sue to be able to tell the number of requests they get. Right now, the law says, well, you can disclose a range. Sometimes that range is 250, sometimes it's up to 1,000, depending on the situation. But your range is 0 to that number. You can't tell how many you got. This is important because that law, that part of the Patriot Act, says you have to say 0 to 250 if you disclose the number. So saying we have received no requests could be, by a judge, interpreted to be violating that provision. EFF says it's not, and they will defend anybody who gets sued under that provision. But it may be that Reddit decided, you know what? It's risky to even say we haven't received any under this crazy law, so we're just going to pull it out. Or the other thing is what Darren said, which I think more people believe happened. They got one of these requests, and so they killed the canary, and now it's not in there in the report. Spez, aka Steve Huffman, said on a thread about this, I've been advised not to say anything in one way or another, as we mentioned. He also said, even with the canaries, we're treading a fine line. The whole thing is icky, which is why we joined Twitter in pushing back.
Right, and then that's the thing about this is it is icky, and we can only speculate. We don't have, they literally can't say we have received one because of that 0 to 250, and it irks me that it's not 255, but that's a different story. And that is frustrating because they could have been just that they removed it because it's just not a good idea to get into that practice. I'm conflicted about the whole value of the canary thing. I think that it's good that a lot of people jumped on this and the post-Snowden revelations. I mean, hack5.org/NSL still exists, but I feel like it's not enough because once you have had to remove your canary, what information are you giving to your users? What is that value to your users? And after you've done that, after you've removed it, if you do receive one, if you're going with the concept of that's what it's for, then what are your users supposed to take away from that and change their? I mean, obviously we're speculating here, but we have it under good authority that it's because of dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com that there has been an NSL this year.
Oh my God! Don't even joke.
That notwithstanding, what's my takeaway here? If I'm just a Reddit user.
Yeah, that is the question about these canaries, especially when you have someone saying it's a fine line even with canaries. So you at best have an unflippable bit, right? You can flip it one time from 0 to 1 and then never flip it again. And that is only telling in one circumstance. And then there is this shade of doubt that is thrown on it. Like, well, they can't say why they removed it. So we're left to assume that they received a request, but even then, so they got one request. And so we don't know how many more they'll ever get under this system anyway, or whether they were for the bomber in Belgium, the bomber in Ankara, the bomber in Kenya. I mean, who are they after? We have no idea. That this system is bad, not because you're able to issue clandestine orders for information. I think that's fine. The problem is there's no oversight if someone issues them with maybe not the right intentions. And that's always the case with secrecy like this. The way the system is supposed to work, which is they can't ask for content, but who's to know, right? Because you can't say what they asked for. You can only dispute in court as a recipient the fact that you are asked not to disclose it. Which honestly, that's probably the biggest part of it, which is if you get one of these with a non-disclosure agreement, that non-disclosure order comes from the director of the FBI, has to, but they have issued, according to Nicholas Merrill, according to Threadpost, they have issued 300,000 of these since 2001. So apparently the director has a very efficient way of approving them. And then you have to go to court and fight them. Now, how long does it take to go to court and fight them, Darren?
Wait, but I don't know, a decade? Over a decade? And the thing is, in those 300,000 national security letters since 2001, only one recently even do we even get an idea of the scope of them. You were just talking about how they're not supposed to, it's a subpoena for information, but it's not supposed to be the content, so it's more like metadata. But if you can't contest that, then why even bother being held to what the law says if you know that they can't fight it in any sort of court? So you might as well. So the question is this, if we're going to go ahead and assume that the reason why the canary is gone is because Reddit received a national security letter, the question becomes, did Reddit receive a national security letter for what you said, like some bomber somewhere? Or was it, hey, can we get the entire user database? Just like data dump of the whole thing. Why not? Why not? Why limit it to just one thing?
You also don't need a warrant for national security letters because you're asking for information that the Supreme Court has deemed to be without a reasonable expectation of privacy. And the justification for that, roughly speaking, is that this is information that a third party, the company that is handling your transaction, already has, so that you're already not keeping it private because somebody else knows it. So you don't need a warrant to get it. And all you can contest is the non-disclosure, the gag order. So Nicholas Merrill did that. He was the owner of Calix back in 2004. He fought his NSL court order, not because he didn't want to hand over the information. He wanted to be able to tell anyone. He couldn't tell his wife or anyone else that he had received the order or that he was fighting the order. He could tell his lawyer, obviously. It's not that ridiculous. But he was very limited in who he could even say that he was fighting the order for. And after 11 years, this is what Darren was alluding to, a judge ruled in his favor that the FBI had not demonstrated that disclosing the contents of the attachment would cause enumerated harm. Great, he won, but everyone looking at this goes, wow, to contest the gag order, I'd have to spend 11 years in court under secrecy and not tell anyone about it? Maybe I just won't bother.
Exactly. And so for 11 years, his girlfriend or wife was just wondering if he had a mistress on the side or if he was just fighting a national security letter.
Right. You just never know.
The attorneys.
Yeah, sincerely, don't use that with your significant other. Oh, I'm fighting a national security letter. Ooh,
but you can't. But no, that's scary though. I mean, suddenly the G-man comes to you and says like, you have to give me this, and you can't say anything about it, or the black helicopters. I don't want to live in that kind of world. Yeah. But you bring up a very good point that what they're saying is like, oh, well, we don't need a warrant or anything. It's just a subpoena. Give us all your stuff, because there was no expectation of privacy, and you are the harbor of that information. So give it to us. And in this case, they wanted the subscriber information, the browser history, the IP address information of all of the connections that a client had made, the subscriber connections, all of their email addresses, the screen names they use, the aliases, plus 6 months of their online purchases. So, in one hand, well, that sounds kind of specific, but then again, this is also a national security letter from 2004. The whole concept was kind of new. So as things have grown and grown, I can only imagine that the more recent ones are much more broad. And it makes me wonder how much they are abused, because when you go to someone and you say, you can't talk about this, but you're going to have to give me over this stuff, and you're obliged by patriotic moral obligation, it makes me wonder. I mean, there was a report from, was it Epic or EFF, that said that in 2007 an audit of the FBI showed that 10% of its NSLs were abused, and yet none of these were ever not given ye old rubber stamp. So anyway, coming back to let's fix this with technology and do it the hacker way. The idea that this can work because there is the lack of expectation of privacy and because the service provider is keeping the information, then as a service provider, the only way that you can protect your users from the NSL threat, because it is a vulnerability, is to build a system in such a way that it is impossible to comply.
And by the way, if you want a transparency, if you want to know what Reddit can tell you, 78% increase in U.S. and foreign requests for information, 98 requests impacting 142 accounts. They complied in 60% of the cases. In some of the other cases, they determined that the request was bogus. 21% increase in foreign requests. They complied with 71% of the foreign requests. 53 orders to remove content from outside the U.S. complied with 21% of those. And 39 of those requests to remove content came from Russia. 38 of those requests were drug-related.
And to just think that if the system were built in such a way that Reddit actually didn't know the contents of anyone's messages, they wouldn't be able to reply to any of those.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, technology can solve the issue with the FCC and providing universal access, and technology can solve this problem as well.
Let's get to our pick of the day, which is a piece of technology that maybe will help you. Jody wrote in and said, my pick is Vivo. It's spelled with 2 I's, though, V-I-I-V-O, which enables one to create an encrypted enclave that only you have the key to. This enclave can be stored on Dropbox or OneDrive or Box and have a local unencrypted copy for your convenience if you want. The beauty is when you put a file in the folder on your machine, it gets encrypted without any more interaction than saving. You could even open files in your enclave or locker, as they call it, on your iPhone, your Mac, and your Android, and best of all, it's free. Now, as with all of these sorts of things, Jody likes it. I couldn't find any reviews tearing it apart. But I also couldn't find any like serious security researchers who have looked at it. So you should always be careful relying on these kinds of things. But the concept is sound, which is a way to have you be the person who only has the key to encrypt something and then store it in the cloud, so that if anyone who's running that cloud service or the government gets a national security alert to look at your stuff, they wouldn't be able to see it because it would be encrypted.
So I can't find the source code to Vivo. I also can't find any independent security audits of it. So I'm just going to say Hack5 Darren gives this one a hesitation. I will just throw out there that while not as easy to use, GPG, or the GNU Privacy Guard, is the open source and vetted way to do encryption that's a very industry standard, built on PGP. And you can do the same thing. You can throw it up on your Dropbox, and then when the FBI compels Dropbox to give them your stuff, it won't matter because it's encrypted anyway. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Vivo was using GPG.
I wouldn't be surprised at all either. Many of these proprietary crypto things end up just using open source libraries anyway, or using open standard crypto systems. It's just anytime that they've like rolled their own, that's when you like really steer clear. I'm not saying that there's not a place in the world for like paid crypto software or anything, but anytime this is something that you should give more than just a sniff test on their homepage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bring it up because I don't know that maybe Jody can enlighten us that they've done that and they found some more stuff. But gpgtools.org is the place to go if you want to look at the GPG. And the concept of this, I think, is important to let people know about.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on ThreatWire, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not personally a fan of a lot of these like syncing services like password managers, but at the same time, I got encrypted volumes that GPG volumes that I throw up on Dropbox, and who cares? I've got the keys.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. All right, couple messages of the day that didn't come from the audience this time. First of all, coming up this Sunday on Text Message with Nate Langson in the UK.
Thanks, Tom. Well, there's no getting away from it. This weekend, we are going to go deep on Apple's iPad Pro 9.7-inch. I picked up my review unit just a day or so before it was released, but I've had some extended time as a result to really get to grips with it and have discovered a few things I don't think have been widely covered, particularly relating to the screen and the camera. That's coming up this Sunday on Text Message at textmessage.co.uk or simply techpodcast.uk.
And this next one is from Tim Sweeney, though not directed at Daily Tech News Show in any way. But he did follow up on Twitter on his criticisms of the Universal Windows platform, saying yesterday, and we think it's important to note, he wrote, "Here is Andrew Clinick's technical presentation on the Universal Windows platform installation," linked to a channel9.msdn article. "One-click install, signing by any CA root." And that last part is the thing that made me go, okay, that's nice. That's the big one. So if I want to distribute a Universal Windows platform, I don't have to send it to Microsoft and have them sign it. I can use a CA root to sign it.
Hey, and as long as we're talking about that, you might as well throw out Let's Encrypt.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, don't throw it out. Use it. Go
no, yeah, I mean, throw it out there as in,
yeah.
to sign your cert. And
actually, yeah, for signing anything. It's a great program. If I wish I hadn't already paid for my certificate for the year when they finally opened it up.
I've been signing my Win32 binaries in blood for the longest time, but now this makes it easier.
Blood magic. It's the most secure DRM.
Dr. M.
All right. Well, thank you, Darren Kitchen. This was a rollicking good show, man. I love this. Where can people find more?
ThreatWire, if you're interested in this kind of stuff. It's not that tinfoil hat, but threatwire.net, or actually you find all the shows over at hak5.org, where Shannon Morse does Tech Thing as well as Hack Tip. There's a new series of Metasploit Minute, so if you're looking to learn one of the frameworks that is most popular amongst security researchers and penetration testers, that's a great one with our friend Mubix. There's also Pineapple University and Hack5 and many other awesome shows for you to find a plethora of content. Over a decade of podcasting, so you got a lot of catching up to do. Yes.
Excellent. hak5.org. And Len Peralta, we gave you a canary. What'd you do with it?
You guys always throw these stories at me, which are really very, esoteric at best, very difficult to do. And so but the nice thing this week, you gave me a little bit of a heads up on it and wanted to kind of inform me on what was going on with it, which was I appreciate. I wanted to try to do something that sort of, felt right to me. And this is what I did. Came up with a little Reddit guy. The Reddit guy's attending the funeral of the canary, which is sort of sad.
I think you nailed it, Len.
Yeah, no joke. This is like when you go to those clip art sites and you're like, I need something that represents eulogy. Like, wow. I know that you get the tough days because we end up talking about a lot of hacks and stuff on Friday, and I got to hand it to you. That one is spot on, Len.
Oh, thank you so much. It's kind of encapsulating into one image that I think is just that just sort of works for everything. So, but yeah, you never see the Reddit guy cry. So here he is. He's crying. He's sad.
I mean, this encapsulates the entire story. I'm not kidding you. Like you did a bang up job. You've got the report in there, the little R.I.P. Reddit warrant canary.
Yeah, it's got a little tombstone.
Canary with the X for eyes.
Dead canary. Yeah, it's very
feeling for the bird.
Yeah. If you've been interested in this story at all, you have to go to lenperaltastore.com and look at this. It's amazing, and possibly pick one up for yourself.
Yeah, please do. And also I want to mention that if you want to get these as digital files, you can go to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Len, and back me there. It's for my speed drawing and stuff like that, but there is a DTNS level, and I think it's just another way of getting them digitally, and you can put them on your phone and all kinds of other things. And also, just remember, as I mentioned at the top of the show, head over to your local comic book shop, look for Munchkin issue number 15, written, illustrated, and cover art by me. It is really, it's Boom Comics, Steve Jackson Games Munchkin issue, but it is my issue in the sense that I really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. So go out there, get it, pick it up, treat yourself, and have a nice weekend. So.
If you want to keep this show going, check out dailytechnewsshow.com/support. We got options, man. You're like, look, Tom, I want to support the show. I want the show to continue, but what can I do? Well, you could give us a Bitcoin if you had one, but you don't have to. That you could buy a mug or a T-shirt. We have T-shirts that say "Born Ready." We have T-shirts that say Tom's wife works for YouTube. We have T-shirts that just say DTNS, and they're very nice, and people wear them to meetups. So go check it out, dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And if nothing else, leave us a review in your favorite podcast store like iTunes and let other people know about the show. In fact, if every single one of you just told another one of your friends who doesn't listen to DTNS, like, hey, you should check out DTNS, you should subscribe, it would be amazing. We'd have a whole new group of people with different kinds of expertise to draw from for the show. So just tell somebody about us. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. It's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Serious, man. I love that. That may be one of my favorite ones you've done.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
So
Thank you.
good.
I was really worried because I had some other ideas and they just got too wordy, and I'm like, there really isn't anything you really need to say other than that it's like a sad day.
You don't even need the words. Like even if they weren't there, you don't have to read them to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, something has happened, and the Reddit guy is very, very sad. Plus, the Reddit guy, he's fun to draw. So.
Oh my God! So Beatmaster always sends me a paste bin of all the links that he has put in to the second screen on DiamondClub.tv every day, and because it's April Fool's Day, he thought he'd have a little fun today. It's in Comic Sans.
Nice. Oh. Beatmaster is also killing it with the titles.
Yeah.
Privacy isn't over until the Fat Canary dies.
Whoa!
I know.
Was it a Fat Canary? We'll never know. It's dead. It's gone.
So, Showbot titles?
Yeah, that privacy isn't over until the Fat Canary dies.
I'm loving it. Although
What else we got,
404
Roger?
Canary not
There
found
are
yet.
a lot of really good ones.
Canary in the subreddit. Brackets title redacted. Google drops the mic drop.
Fans doing lines for Tesla.
uh,
I just like the implication of that one too.
There's a subreddit of this canary has kicked the bucket. Patriot (parentheses Act Games 2016) fans doing lines for Tesla. 35,000 for a new
I
car.
think that's W. Scott is one just making fun of me because I don't know what anything cost.
Are you like Rain Man?
No, I literally thought that new cars are typically around 30 grand, aren't they?
No.
Oh. Okay.
How much are they?
I don't know.
A
I've
new
never
car.
bought a new car.
A new car.
25?
23, 25.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you go for a Econo
Don't ask
box,
Roger
it's-
and I. We never buy new cars.
I've never bought.
Well, if you want like an Econo box, you're looking at 1920.
No, but like a nice car. I mean, it's a Tesla, so it's like. It should be
So are you saying like if you want
like
a luxury automobile, you should be paying well over 30.
well, not luxury, but like what's between like a Lexus and
And
a
the Toyota,
Toyota? What's in between that?
the cheap Lexus, or the high-end Toyota. It's,
Okay. All right.
I've never bought a new car, so I have no idea.
just stick to.
What does a new BMW cost? Anyway.
Well, which one? The 3 Series? The 5?
I don't know. A new one.
The electric one? The i something that looks like.
No, the one they have for sale.
Oh, you know the one with the BMW logo.
I just listen to the Chevy commercials, and they tell me what to like.
Yeah.
I want to put you on that
Which
show.
is apparently a rock.
What's the show that's like Naked and Afraid, where you're not naked, but they just stick you out in the boonies and you have to survive until you get picked up?
By the way, breaking news. I'm an idiot. I didn't realize all paste bins are Comic Sans today. That is paste bins. April Fool's.
Oh.
That's pretty brilliant,
nice.
to be honest.
So which title? Privacy isn't over until the Fat Canary dies.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah. You guys
I mean,
in?
it's landsliding. Although
Yeah.
Canary in the subreddit is pretty good too.
It's more efficient
Mm.
than
Mm-hmm.
Mary in the subreddit. Yeah, let's go with the one that's getting the most votes. We'll be democratic this once.
I heard that you guys weren't being democratic the other day.
We weren't.
And I was sticking around at the end of the show, and then I heard, we'll be back tomorrow with Len and Darren. And I went, I was driving back to the warehouse, and I was like, oh, right, I'm on the show tomorrow. Yeah, that's my name. You'll be there with Len.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's me. What am I doing on there?
That's my name. Oh, man. Are we off the air right now?
No, we're still.
Oh, okay,
we're
good.
still-
Then I'll see
oh,
you later.
Yep. I'm waiting to export here and then upload, and then we'll go off.
Oh, Tor belongs in a museum. That's nice.
Tor belongs in a museum.
Because I'm just reminded of the Indiana Jones reference.
Oh yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
That deserves more than an honorable mention. That
Mhm.
deserves my vote.
That deserves a reenactment.
Well done. Another pizza.
Man, I can't believe you guys didn't talk about this Scarlett Johansson robot.
Wait, what?
Some
April
guy
Fool's joke.
in Japan built a robot
Oh yeah, I
Did he-
saw that.
in the likeness of Scarlett Johansson.
Story came out today.
It's no, but this is real. There's a picture of it right here.
No,
Yeah, there's a picture and it's the internet.
It's the first
It's
thing
on
that
the
pops
internet.
up. It has to be fake.
Oh man.
Do you think this is fake?
Oh, it's kind of creepy.
Well,
There's
that-
actually a
that's the
working
whole
prototype
point.
of this thing.
It's just basically and it's a much. I don't think Scarlett Johansson's that tiny.
What happens when? Where's the link? First of all, or somebody in IRC, please paste. But that brings up an entire ball of wax when it comes to like trademark
Yeah, what
and
do you
stuff.
Oh, the right to publicity.
Yeah.
And owning your image. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That's
you know, there's no
Actually,
reason
you know
why
what?
we
It-
don't still
I
have.
don't think there's any copyright on your image as far as making it for personal use, though.
It's
But if you were
creepy
to
in that
sell
the
it, you
proportions
couldn't
are
sell
off.
it without her permission. I don't think.
Yeah, no, you couldn't. Yeah, this is just for his own personal use.
It gets a little creepier when you put it that way. doesn't
Also,
it?
I would say it looks more like Kristen Stewart from the Twilight movies than Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, he doesn't have the eyes right.
Maybe he's
He
gonna go
doesn't
for
really have much right. The proportions are off.
dual
It's like
production.
it's like you stuck an adult woman's head on a tween's body. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah,
I'm
he
saying
just called it Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
there's really little reason why we don't have Frank Sinatra in more movies right now with CG the way it is. So I'm just saying, you can make
okay.
robots of.
Yeah, but his claim to fame was music. No, I mean, he wasn't the greatest actor.
Eh. All right, Gene Kelly.
You just know that name because you watch Singing in the Rain,
That's not true. I was just watching a bunch of Gene Kelly movies,
I gotta look at
including
this Reddit.
Singing in the Rain.
including that one, of course.
There is a Reddit that T2T2 posted, which is pretty funny, and I could spend hours looking at this robot Reddit. Cleaning up crappy robots is what it's called.
Well, so does the robot do anything,
It
or is it
does.
just a mannequin?
Looks more like a
It has limited arm movements and stuff. It just looks like a weird like 1980s animatronic from Disneyland when you go to the
Yeah.
Hall of Presidents.
Hmm. So, well, maybe that's the whole idea. Is like they're going to revamp Mr. Lincoln, right? And then throw on a little Scarlett Johansson there with it. I mean, hey, you gotta get to the kids.
Her hands go down to her knees like a gorilla. That's true.
On the robot?
On the robot. Oh, the thing winks too. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like,
her arms are really long.
that's the creepiest wink.
There's very
Yeah,
little
the
about
arms
that
are long.
isn't creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
There was this show on like the Learning Channel of like it was all about robots, and it was guys who spent all this money to make like sex robots and stuff like that. But the weirdest part of that
Nobody was talking about sex robots.
well, this on the show.
Okay.
But the one weird thing about that show was that there was a segment on the show about this guy. He really wanted like a robot girlfriend, but he wanted her to be real, if that made any sense. So he had a girlfriend, and he made the girlfriend act like a robot in front of him, and it was the weirdest thing.
Wait, where was this guy at?
It was on this show about like people and robots, you know,
so
like
did
guys.
he have a thing for robots or a thing
He
for
did.
girlfriends?
He had a thing for robots. So like his girlfriend would sit on the bed next to him, and he would say something like, "Power up," and she would sit there and go, "Powering up for you" or something. And so
He'd say like they killed me, Mal. They killed me with a sword.
But I got the last laugh.
Does he make her dress up like a transformer for Halloween and then turn into like a car?
yeah, it was really a
Can't
strange
stop the
relationship.
signal, Mal.
Very strange relationship. Not that I'm one to judge anyone's relationship, but I thought it was very strange.
Hmm. I mean, you know, soon
Not
enough, you're gonna
traditional.
marry a robot. So
No,
come on.
not traditional, right? It was just weird. She would like open her eyes, like flicker open her eyes, and she would start talking like an automaton. I don't know.
I would totally like, you know what, this isn't doing it for me. I'm gonna move on.
You mean if you were the girl? If you were the
Yeah, it's like
girlfriend?
no.
Yeah.
This is
Well, maybe it worked both ways.
maybe.
Maybe they were both into it.
Maybe she wanted a stilted girlfriend and she wanted a emotionally odd.
But that's the point. That was the weirdest thing. It's like you have a human being in front of you, and you want her to act like a robot.
The weirdest ones I've seen are the ones who act like juveniles. No, it's not like in a relationship, but they have like they just have. I saw this one was on the BBC, like weird what are they called? It was done in the around 2006 or 5, and just kind of not weird fetishes, but kind of these weird lifestyles that these people have. And one of them was like a 30-something-year-old programmer who just wanted to be a big baby. He paid for someone to built an adult-sized crib, and he would dress up like a baby, and he paid this older woman to pretend to be like his mother. And it was just like the oddest thing ever. You see this 30-something-year-old guy running around in I guess adult diapers.
I've heard Roger tell this story before.
Yeah.
So
I've actually seen those.
I hate to cut it short, but I'm out of the post.
Wait, what are you implying?
I'm not implying anything. I'm actually trying not to imply anything by the fact that I just now happen to be out of the post. I'm done publishing the show. So we're going to cut the broadcast. But thanks everybody for watching.
About adult babies.
It's an entirely coincidental timing. Goodbye.